Today's video features the largest book haul in YouTube's history. You're gonna see titles you've never heard of, ever. I got a text from where's my phone? I got a text from my dad. He is just an inspiration to me. He's just supportive, kind, financially generous. Subject, career choices. My father is the only one that writes subjects in his text messages. It's what we love about him. You have a career emergency. You're married now, you just bought a house, and it's time to get serious. And that's why today I am launching the Paper Pixels YouTube channel. This channel is about the things that I love, about the things that give me joy. It's about video games, it's about books and movies and TV shows. What a day for Dad, huh? This is really special. I started writing about it over on paperpixels.substack.com, and surprisingly I got a good response. So I'm starting this channel to kind of further that conversation. I've already written about how I plan to attack my backlog this summer, my 3 favorite Zelda games, or what I thought about the Picard finale. All that's over on paperpixels.substack.com. Check it out, subscribe to it, subscribe to this channel. I mentioned that I just moved into a new house and I'm here. I had, let's see, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes of books that have just been sitting in my closet for years. And I said, someday I'm gonna get a house and I'm gonna put these books up and it's gonna be great. So we're gonna go through all those boxes. We're gonna find, not all of them. There's no friggin' way. We're gonna skip some of the stuff that, who cares? Nobody wants to know what karate books I'm reading, No one cares. We'll go through 2 of them for sure. Let's turn this camera around. Let's go to my bookshelf. Let's start putting stuff on the shelf and start prioritizing what am I gonna read next. All right, welcome to my sad little bookshelf. My wife and I, we just moved in here. I have big plans for my office here. I want to upgrade this bookshelf. I want to do like a wall-to-wall thing with like a comfy chair and, a nice floor lamp, something relaxing, something where I can read, play Switch, I don't know. Just a nice chill space. Every YouTuber must have a light in the background. There we go, huh? This is YouTube, baby. So let's start going through these books. I'm just gonna grab whatever's on top. First book up, Sheri S. Tepper, Raising the Stones. This is the sequel to Grass. I don't know if you read Grass, but Grass was a great book. Highly recommended if you haven't read it. But it's part of that UK series, Sci-Fi Masterworks. I've got a lot of these, or SF Masterworks. Is it high, medium, or low priority? I'm gonna put this medium. Okay, we'll put it there for now. Okay, next up is nonfiction. In the Blink of an Eye. In the Blink of an Eye by Walter Murch. Walter Murch is a film editor, very famous film editor. I'll put some movies over here that he's directed. You've heard of all of them. One of the greats. I went to film and photography school for, I don't know, I guess a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. And I took an editing class, and this was one of the books recommended by my teacher. So I don't really need this information right now. I'm going to say this is low priority. I guess I'm going to put nonfiction at the bottom of the shelf. All right, next up, boom! The Amber series, Roger Zelazny. This is all of them, all 10 books. Look at this thing. It's a freaking monster. I've read the first one, maybe the second one. I don't remember, but I've definitely read this first one, but it's been a long time. I might have to reread this one. Great series. And they're, each one is just, this thin, So if you want to just check out the first one, get it from your library, get the ebook or something. You don't have to grab this monster. I'm gonna say this one is medium priority. Another one, classic. Simak, Clifford D. Is that D? Yeah, Clifford D. Simak. City. This is just considered one of his best books. I've heard so much about it. I watched Bookpilled. That guy Matt over at Bookpilled, another Matt, just my favorite booktuber. He loves this book. I trust his judgment. I'm gonna put this high priority. Next up, nonfiction. George Saunders. What's it called? A Swim in a Pond in the Rain. I just bought this book. This is George Saunders, very well respected author. I have not read any of his fiction. He teaches at a university, I believe it's Syracuse. He teaches you how fiction works. At least that's what it says on the back of the book. He teaches you through these various essays how fiction works based on like some other famous classical work. And I really love that stuff. I love learning kind of the rules behind the art or the method behind the art, because it makes you a better reader. Or if you're reading that merch book, it makes you a better, makes you more appreciative of the film. And so, and of course, I also want to be a better writer to, I'm not saying I'm going to be a professional, but just to improve. I'm always seeking to improve my creative skill set. So this one, I'm going to say this is a high priority for me. Footfall by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle. Aliens invade. There's not much hope for mankind. And of course, they descend on Kansas, because we all know Kansas is the place to be. And so that's where they go. And the aliens are called Snouts. That's not the name. That's not the most promising of names for aliens, but low medium. Peregrine. Okay, this is a nonfiction title. He tracked these peregrine falcons, and this is his story. The director, Herzog, he recommends reading this. Herzog's just an absolute madman, a brilliant artist, and if he recommends it, I'll give it a shot. I'm going to say this is medium. Let's see, let's do this one next. The Dying Earth series by Jack Vance, an absolute classic. I have not read this. I know that, the first book is supposed to be the best, and then, kind of goes downhill from there. It's a fairly thin book as well. So I think I'm going to do, this is all 3 books. So I'm just going to read the first one, and it's called Dying Earth. I'm going to say this is medium. So I saw this at a used bookstore, and I have been seeing this book since I was a kid on the shelf, and I was like, oh my God, it's got robot dolphins, and you get to swim with robot dolphins. Are you kidding me? Like, this sounds fantastic. I have always wanted to read this since I was a kid. I've never read a review on it. I've never looked it up on Goodreads to see what other people think about it. I know nothing about this book except that there are robot dolphins. So I'm going to say, yeah, this is high priority. Robot dolphin time. All right, next, nonfiction. We got this really old book by this guy named Jerome K. Jerome. His parents were extremely creative, but he wrote books. Wow, when was this? He was born 1859, died 1927, and he wrote some self-help essays. And this one is called The Art of Making Up one's mind. And his writing is, I just read, a little bit here and there, but he's actually quite funny. And you think, how can a guy from, the 1800s all the way to the 1920s, how can that guy be funny? But he is, and the humor kind of stands the test of time. And on the back of the book, they have this little quote: "Life is a thing to be lived, not spent, to be faced, not ordered. Let us play the game of life as sportsmen, pocketing our winnings with a smile, leaving our losings with a shrug." I mean, that's just fun. And it's short. I've got so many books that are like 900 pages long. It's refreshing to have something that you can, finish in a day or two. I'm going to make this a high priority. Poul Anderson, The Boat of a Million Years. I have never read anything by Anderson. I mean, he's been quite prolific, but yet just always passed me by. I don't know why. It's a pretty big book. And yeah, of course, I've read bigger. I read the frickin' Wheel of Time series. But seriously, I'm trying to read as many books as possible this summer. And so I want to keep them fairly short, So, but I've always wanted to read this too. It's a tough call. I'm going to say medium. Next up, quick one, nonfiction, A Writer's Coach by Jack Hart. Jack Hart wrote this other book, and I'm going to put it right here. This book right here, Storycraft, is the most helpful book I have ever read on writing, and it really informed my travel videos. I've got that other channel, and he walks you through how to write narrative nonfiction, and those same principles apply to video creation as well. And so people will ask me, what's the first thing to do? What camera should I get? Or, teach me something. And they're so eager. And I always say, start with Jack Hart's Storycraft. You can't go wrong. So if you're looking to be a creator, check out that book, Storycraft. But for me, for this one, writing strategies that work, it's not a high priority for me right now. Even though I love Jack Hart and I'm sure this is fantastic, I'm gonna put this in the low. Let's just do all of these at once. 4 books by the great spy novelist Jean Le Carre. Don't get me started. I mean, he's British. He's got this weird sounding name, Carre. I don't know how to say it, but anyway. All 3 of these are George Smiley novels, that the main character, and this one is a standalone, so I might read this one first. So this one I'm going to say is a medium priority. These other 3, low. French stuff. It's called Nausea. I don't know anything about this except it's about, it was one of these first books that were, philosophical novels about existentialism. I think it's one of the first, or at least it's a very prominent French writer, and I absolutely love these Penguin modern classics. I love the cover design. Just a good looking book. But I don't need to get all existential right now, so I'm gonna go low on this one. Brian W. Aldiss, Star Swarm. Oh my gosh, I have never read an Aldiss novel. I don't know if I should start with this one or not. What do you think? Is it any good? Leave a comment. I am going to just undecided on this one. You tell me. Arthur C. Clarke, The Songs of Distant Earth. I'm gonna say low priority on this one because there's one. It's like Moonfall, Dust of something about dust in the moon. I don't know in the title. That one will be higher. This one is low. Next, Graham Greene's my favorite Graham Greene novel, The Quiet American. I love this book. The movie was whatever, but this book, my goodness, if you haven't read it, You absolutely should. This might be one of my top. This is one of my top 10 favorite books, and I love these. Again, Penguin, one of these Penguin Centennial Collection covers. It's got great art. Has these like kind of rough edges on the pages. I love it. I've read this. I don't even know how many times. A lot. So I'm gonna say this is obviously low. Another writing tutorial. I'm always trying to improve my writing. Is this any good? I mean, it got great reviews, but still low priority. Simak. Okay, The Choice of Gods. Well, we talked about City. I'm excited about reading City, but is this one any good? City is high. This one's gonna be low, but if City's great, I'll read this one because again, boom. Thin book. Maybe I can actually finish this book this summer. Okay, maybe I'll make that medium. J.G. Ballard, The Drowned World. And this is like one of those earlier SF Masterwork editions, that British cover. It's an alright art, but this is, climate change, radiation has melted the ice caps, temperatures have climbed, London becomes a swamp. So I'm going to put this, I've never read him, I'm going to put this high priority. George Orwell, Burmese Days. I've read a bit of this. I need to get back to it. I don't know why I stopped. I think I was just busy. But George Orwell is just a freaking genius. I'm going to do medium. Keith Roberts. More of those, the newer SF Masterworks. Pavane? I'm not sure how to say that. This plot sounds fantastic. 1588. Queen Elizabeth is felled by an assassin's bullet. Within the week, the Spanish Armada sets sail, and its victory changes the course of history. And then it fast forwards to England in the 1960s, and it's basically like still the Middle Ages. What a great concept. Oh my gosh, okay, somewhere between high and medium. We'll put it on the high shelf. All right, we'll do both of these at the same time. We have got Olaf Stapledon, Star Maker, and Last and First Man. Again, the SF Masterwork series. These have been sitting in this box forever. I've always wanted to read these since college. I really need to get to it, but I also heard they're very just heavy. They're not light reading. Medium. Gateway by Frederick Pohl. Heard wonderful things, but I'm just not that excited, to be honest. I mean, okay, why don't you tell me about why I should or shouldn't read Gateway in the comments below. Let's find something that isn't sci-fi. Okay, here we go. Jack Kerouac, On the Road. Classic. I've never read it. I mean, I feel like it's just so important to American literature, but I've just never read it. Again, that beautiful Penguin Classics binding. I'm going to put this medium. No, I'm going to put it low. Mastering Stand-Up. I've already read this. You should read this immediately. You should read it if you've ever been interested in stand-up comedy. This is the book. This was a gift from a friend, Revelation Space. Supposed to be fantastic, but it's just also so darn big. I think I'm going to make it low priority. Medium. Ryan, for you, medium. Ooh, here's that Arthur C. Clarke that I wanted to read. Another SF Masterworks. Fall of Moondust. That's going to be high priority for me. This one, Theodore Sturgeon, More Than Human, it is supposed to be emotional and somewhat dark and sad. I've always, yeah, I think this is going to be high. Mm-hmm. Another Penguin classic, John Christopher, The Death of Grass. This is wonderful. John Christopher wrote the Tripod Trilogy, if you've never read that as a young person. This is definitely not really young person or young adult fiction like that series. This is this is kind of, well, grass dies and the world turns to Shardik, I believe is how you say it. Shardik, Richard Adams, same person who wrote Watership Down, which I never read, but this book sounds great too, but again, way too long for this summer. That's going to be low priority. Lord of Light by Zelazny. Gosh, I tried to read this. I read, I don't know how many pages, less than 50, and I was just like, yeah, is it for me? Let me know. I know it's a classic. People are going to be like, oh, I hate you and I'm never subscribing, because they love this book. It's low priority for me, but you can try to convince me otherwise. Ooh, this book. The next book is psychology or self-help. I'm not really sure how to classify it, but it's called The Tools, and it's by Phil Stutz. And Phil Stutz is the psychologist or therapist, psychotherapist. I'm not sure what his job title is. But Phil Stutz was the subject of that Netflix documentary made by the guy from Superbad that's not Michael Cera. Why can't I remember his name? Okay, it's this guy. Here's a picture of him, that guy. Anyway, he made a documentary about this guy. And I was like, whoa, those seem very practical, because in the past I've studied kind of mindfulness, and some of it just gets... There's a lot of mysticism, a lot of Eastern mysticism that gets kind of wrapped up into mindfulness and meditation. Some of it kind of gets away from me. This is kind of a more Western approach and a more practical approach, and it just seems very interesting. I definitely want to read this. This is high priority. Ooh, nonfiction, here we go. This is high priority for sure. The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is a famous, if you don't know, a famous record producer. Beastie Boys, Red Hot Chili Peppers, that sound, their sound was developed by Rick Rubin. He also did my favorite Tom Petty albums. He also did Johnny Cash's, the albums at the end of his life, the American series. Wow. So Rick Rubin, yes, high priority for sure. Siddhartha, a tiny little version, A Gift from a Friend. I read it in high school. I haven't read it since. Low priority. The Sorrow of War. So you're going to see a lot of novels about Vietnam and like The Quiet American and this, because I had planned on traveling there this summer, but instead we got this house, so all my money is now gone, and so I'm not traveling there anymore. So this is low priority, but this book was censored. It's not even allowed to be published in Vietnam. Just fascinating. The End of the Affair by Graham Greene. Again, beautiful cover. I've never read this one. I'm going to say medium priority. Cities in Flight. I've read Blish. I forgot what else he wrote. Oh, A Case of Conscience. Was that the one I read? I'm going to do low priority just because it's freaking massive. I've read this a couple times. Joe Haldeman, The Forever War. This was a gift from a good friend. Same person who got me Siddhartha, actually. And Alistair Reynolds. Wow, a gift from 2005. So, this... Again, that old cover of the SF Masterworks, great book if you haven't read it. Mockingbird by Walter Tevis or Tevis. I've never heard of this. I just bought it because it was at the store and I was like, ooh, SF Masterworks, and I grabbed it. Oh wow. In a dying world where humans are drugged and lulled by electronic bliss, where there is no art, no literature, and there are no children, where some would rather burn themselves alive than endure. That sounds fascinating. I'm going to make that, I don't know, low to medium. All right, we're getting close here to the end here. Greg Bear, Eon, never read it. Of course, it's a legend. I love this cover. Look how cool that is. Can you even see it? There it is. It looks fantastic. Also a big one. If it wasn't huge, I'd put it at the top of the list. But it's going down low. Jack Vance, Inferio. Look at that cover. This might be... I might read this. I might read this before Dying Earth. Some of you are like, no! But I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to put this on high. And yeah, Yeah, I think that's a good decision. Jack Vance, can't go wrong. John Steinbeck, I love Steinbeck. This is The Winter of Our Discontent. East of Eden is probably, again, top 10 favorite novel. Fantastic. I remember I was reading Grapes of Wrath, and Steinbeck was, describing the way, someone had their hand on their hip, like this, and the rays of sunshine coming through their arm, and it was just the most beautiful prose, and I was just like, wow. So I guess I'm never gonna be a writer because, that's what it takes, and it's just so intimidating. But anyway, it's fantastic. I'm gonna say this is low though. I got enough going on. Oh my gosh, I love this book. Power of One. Oh my gosh, if you haven't read this book, you need to read this. This book is fantastic. I've read it twice. The movie is just, even though it's got Morgan Freeman in it, it's just not up to snuff. This book is fantastic, and the ending, just everything you know from the movie, if you've seen that, and that just happy-go-lucky BS, this is the real story. It's fantastic. If you haven't read it, it's high. For me, it doesn't make the cut. Hobbit, beautiful cover. I love this. The art of the dragon. Can you see that? The art of the dragon, and his pile of gold. Just gorgeous. But I've read it, so I'm not gonna reread it anytime soon. Here's James Blish, A Case of Conscience. What was that? Is that my dad on the cover? Like, give me a break. I'd not love the background, but this guy, not doing it for me. But it's, again, SF Masterworks. I want to read some Blish. Heard great things. It won the Hugo Award. I'll give this a shot. Recursion by Blake Crouch. This is, unlike a lot of this SF and science fiction you see on the shelf, this is a modern title. So, yeah, I think sometimes we get too, especially SF or science fiction fans, speculative fiction, we get kind of sucked in because there are so many classics to discover and read, but there's new stuff too, and so I want to make sure I give it its due. So I'm going to make this a high priority. Fellowship of the Ring with a pretty interesting cover. I've never read it. Sorry. That's really all I have to say about that. Watch the movies, though. Low priority for me. Dune. I don't know how many times I've read this. If you haven't seen it, the movie came out and was more like half a movie, and then the other half of the movie is coming out this November. The new trailer looks great. It was that first half of the movie was gorgeous. The cinematography, the editing, the lighting, oh wow, it was beautiful. So if you haven't read this, you should read it. My favorite of the series is actually the fourth book, God Emperor of Dune, which I don't own, but I've already read it. This, if you haven't read it, watch it or read it. The Space Merchants by Pohl and Kornbluth. Low priority. I don't know anything about it. Oh yes, Roadside Picnic. I have never read this book. It's Russian. Is it Russian? It sounds Russian. Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. Oh yeah, Russian. Yeah, they're Russian. So this book is supposed to be just beautiful. I'm gonna put that high on the list here. Okay, last three, and they are comics. They are the only comic books that I own. We've got this one, Batman, by Grant Morrison. It's a volume 1. It's an omnibus. There's just a ton of issues in here, a ton of different comics, and it tells the story. Well, I don't even want to give it away, but you know, there's new Batman movies coming out. Here's volume 2, volume 1. They're based on these. The new Batman movies are based on these. So I really wanted to check these out and see what it's all about. Read the comics first. And same with this. I know this is an unusual way to end the video, but Supergirl, I swear to God, it's just because the movie's coming out, and the new movie is based on this comic. So, and it's thin, so check it out. Probably, I don't know, low priority on these. Whenever the movies come out, then I'll probably jump on those. And that's it! The inaugural video of Paper Pixels. So please go to paperpixels.substack.com, check out all my pieces, and it's going to be an important part of this channel. Is just that combined with this channel. I just want to cover all these different topics, and some of these topics are more conducive to writing, and some are better for video. So, powers combined. Subscribe, hit that bell icon, thumbs up, all that YouTube stuff. Can't wait to see you next time. Paper Pixels! Paper Pixels! What a day for Dad.